Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to talk about the Type 87 RCVP. I recently spaded it in the game, and I've got to say it was a pretty rough experience overall for this general vehicle. There was quite a lot of times where I felt like I was contributing quite a lot to the team, but then also there was other times where I feel like I was doing absolutely nothing. First of all, let's talk about the difference between this and the standard RCV. The gun is the difference. The standard RCV has a 25mm, it also gets access to APFSDS, whereas this gets the 20mm Rheinmetall 202 with access to APDS. So that's why they are so different in BR. And the BR of the P is at 7.7, and this is a problem, because the 7.7, there isn't a lineup for it at all. Pretty much you are running the 7.3 lineup just at 7.7, so all of your vehicles are weaker compared to what they would have been in their normal habitat, and that pretty much just means that it's much better to run everything else at 7.3 and just not bring along the 7.7 RCVP, which sucks for it, because of course you want every vehicle to have a bit of fun with, but unfortunately if you put in a space where it doesn't have a lineup, that doesn't really work too well. If you wanted to add it to a separate lineup, if you wanted to up-tier it, you'd have to do it to 8.3. And you don't want to do that with this machine, especially before you get the rank 4 round, which actually makes it useful. Planes-wise, you literally only have the kicker, so you have a 7.0 kicker, and that's it. I suppose you could, once again, up-tier it with the R2Y2, but it's usually a bad practice to up-tier your ground vehicles with air vehicles, even if it is an aggressive scout, where you're probably going to get enough spawn points to get into a plane. So, why is this thing such high BR? Basically because of mobility, stabilizer, and the DM63 shell, and even with all of those things, I feel like it could easily go down in BR and still be completely fine. This vehicle, I believe, actually started lower in BR at 7.3, but right now it's just kind of in the doldrums, and probably a reason why you don't see it too much, because it just doesn't have competent vehicles to use around it. The vast majority of situations I got in most of the games were just kind of sitting on hills or sitting in areas, scouting a lot of the enemy team, but kind of waiting for my teammates to do something, because even with the shell, you only have, 66mm of penetration at most. This means that you can deal with stuff like SPHs not too badly, you can deal with leopards from the side, and you can deal with stuff like VDARs and things like that, but against actual enemies, most of the time you'll be facing heavy tanks, whether it be IS-6s, IS-3s, T-29s, T-34s, even stuff like M103s I saw quite a lot. This vehicle just cannot do anything against. Even things like M60s, M48s, which is another thing you'll see a lot, you just can't do much against. Marders are mainly the thing that you can go after. So, before you get that DM63 though, which is a rank 4 modification, and also this vehicle just has, I don't know why there's so many vehicles like this, but it just annoys the hell out of me. So when you have a look at these types of vehicles and their modifications, the one thing that you're trying to look for is a little bit of balance between the modifications, right? So the idea is as you go through the modifications, they get a little bit tougher to research, but nothing too crazy. Well, the problem with this machine is it only has 3 rank 3 modifications: filters, crew replenishment, and elevation mechanism. Each of these are like 7,000 when it comes to their modification cost, and you need 2 of them to be able to unlock rank 4. In rank 4, there are 6 modifications, which total 29,000 research. So it actually, overall, is much easier to actually grind out a rank 4 modification than it is a rank 3 modification. Now, you may turn around and go, oh, well, isn't that good? Because obviously it means that you don't have to, once you get there, it's actually much cheaper to get the things. I mean, yeah, technically, if you want to see it like that, you're only paying, nearly like $5,000, I suppose, for each of the things, instead of like the 7,800, I think it is, or something like that for the rank 3s. But it means actually getting there is a pain, and I would actually prefer if they moved one of these rank 4 modifications to rank 3, so you lessen the grind for rank 4 in order to pierce it to get it open. And it's just really annoying. Like, the fact is, the rank 1 modifications for this machine are pretty much the same cost as the rank 4 ones, but obviously getting access to those rank 4 ones in the first place is just a pain, and you need these rank 4 modifications for this vehicle to even feel like it's a 7.7. You need that DM63, or you just can't pen anything. Like, without the DM63, you are stuck at 57mm a pen at 10 meters, and at 100 meters, basically, or even 500 meters, that drops to 35mm, which is terrible. I spent a bunch of matches just sitting on the side waiting for people to come so I could just scout them over and over and over again, and if anybody pushed me, I would just die. There's nothing I could have done. This happened with a VDAR, where a VDAR was side on. I was about 100 meters from it. I filled it full of a kind of magazine of the standard default shell. It did no damage, and it just looked at me and blew me up. And this happened several times with a bunch of different vehicles, and it just sucks. It just doesn't feel good at all. And it means that the overall experience of this thing is tailored towards the modifications instead of the actual vehicle itself. Now, when you are fully modified, yes, it's very mobile, and also the smoke grenades are really nice, and also the stabilizer on the 20mm is good in engagements where you are facing vehicles of your similar caliber. Stuff like, the Marder, the DF105, even stuff like the Leopard, for example, even the T114 that I saw a few times, the M109, things which don't have a lot of armor, you can deal very well with. But unfortunately, around this BR, you have a lot of stuff with a ton of armor. And because you don't have the firepower to back it up with your other vehicles, what you end up doing a lot of the time is you just sit around and don't really do too much in the game, because you can't. You can't pen anything, and you are waiting for other people to be able to kind of help you out as you go around the place. And that's what happened with this Type 87 RCVP. There were so many matches where I felt like if I was in any other vehicle, think about an AML 90, or think about like a DF105. Once again, pretty light vehicles, but with a punch. I felt like I could make a massive difference in the game. Whereas with the RCVP, I was more relegated just to basically being a cameraman, scouting enemies as they were moving around, and then going after planes with the gun. And, going after planes worked very well with the RCVP. It was very nice, and it worked, very good. The vehicle itself, by the way, the final statistics were 37 battles, 51% win rate, and then also we had 28 ground kills, 12 air kills, and also 33 deaths. So overall about 1-to-1 with a slightly positive win rate. Definitely nowhere near the level that at least I would expect when it comes to these things. In the Type 99 we had a higher win rate and obviously a 3-to-1 KD, just to give you a kind of idea of the difference between them. But for me, what I would actually do with this one is I would lower its BR. I'd put it down to 7.3 so it actually has a lineup. It's still going to have all of the same problems that it has now, and it doesn't go up against, at 6.3, you're not talking about a deluge of just really, really light vehicles, right? The only ones which are there, which are kind of like that, I believe, like maybe a Ratel, and then stuff like the M109s, which you kind of already face anyway. So for me, it would just make more sense, because right now it's just in a no-go zone. And that sucks. It really sucks for the vehicle that's where it is. Even if you want to play kind of like the early aggressive scout casserole, you can do that. But if you run into the wrong enemies, that's not going to work. And even if you do, you get one 800 kilo bomb with the kicker. That's it. That is what you do for the battle. And when you compare that to other nations at 7.7, it is just not good enough. Simple as that. Even at 7.3, that's not good enough. But at least at 7.3, it would be given a chance to thrive. Hopefully, in the future, more people can enjoy this vehicle. Hopefully, people can run around and have a good time, like I did when it was nearly fully spaded. At the end, I had like 3 or 4 games where I was just running around, scouting everything on some city maps and taking a lot of chances, getting some caps and having fun. But unfortunately, without all those modifications, which can be quite hard to get, it isn't exactly great. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd like to thank Schnitzel Stroker, Brendan Quinn, Vilneus, Character Fuel, Carrion Crow, Nicholas Richardson, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, B. Young, Opium Prime, Masonocrat, Lafouche, Alan Hacker, Sem Arslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.